Hello everyone, and welcome back to my ongoing series of Solidworks tutorials. Today we're going to be talking about putting section and detail views in drawings. And for this I'm going to use this little sample part, which my machinist friends will recognize as a vise jaw from a Kurt milling vise. And this is a pretty good example of what you can do with section views and a few other little tidbits that I'm going to point out. I'm going to come up here to my new icon, to the drop down next to it. I'm going to choose Make Drawing from Part and Assembly. I'm not going to use the display sheet format for this. And when I open this up, it gives me my view palette over here, and it also tells me a scale down here. So right now it's wanting to cut the part in half, and I want it to be full size. So I'm coming up here, I'm going to click 1:1 instead. It will close your view palette when that happens, but you can get back to it by mousing over this icon right here under the Open folder. So once I click that, I should be able to drag this over, and now it's full size. It takes up more of the sheet. And that is the only view I want, so I'll come over here and click my green check mark. And then it's also defaulting to the solid model texture that you get when you draw the part. So I'm going to click that drawing view, and I want to change this to just a wireframe, the hidden lines removed. Now that we have that out of the way, I'm going to come up here to the left hand side of the screen and click my drawing tab, and that gives you a bunch of different options. The ones we're interested in for this video are the section view and the detail view, which we'll get to a bit later. I'm going to click section view, and you can see it opens up a dialog box over here. It's defaulting right now to the vertical orientation, but you can choose orientations right here. I actually want the horizontal orientation there, and I'm going to snap that to the center of one of these holes. And then I click my green check mark. The section view is basically as if you took a saw and cut along this line right here, and then you're looking in the direction that the arrows are facing. You can see the arrows are labeled AA, and that is also what the section view is labeled. So we're looking at this right here. This is a much cleaner way of looking at a print compared to hidden lines, especially when you've got a lot of detail to the features that you're trying to look at. You can also see that all of the parts that are solid are filled in with this crosshatch, and that actually changes when you've got the material specified. So this is just a generic crosshatch because I haven't specified a material in the part. And just like anything else, I can come back over here to my model. I can specify the material by right-clicking right there, and let's just say that it's plain carbon steel. Changes my color on my model, and when I go back to my drawing over here, now you can see that it rebuilds and the crosshatch pattern has changed. So now it's two lines with a big space in between them. The crosshatch pattern changes depending on that material. And it's not so much an alloy specific thing. Every steel, for instance, is going to have the same crosshatch. So if I come in here, and even if I went to a stainless steel, let's say 316L right there, it changes the color in the model again, but when I go back over here, the crosshatch is actually still the same. So all steels are going to look like this. Whereas if I come back over here and I changed it to, say, brass, which I can do just in this drop down, again, changes my color, and now the crosshatch pattern has changed again. This is the crosshatch pattern that would be used for all copper alloys. So if I come over here and change it to copper, oh, come on, it will be the same crosshatch pattern in this particular case. As you can see right there, hasn't changed. The fact that the crosshatch pattern changes depending on the material is a somewhat overlooked aspect of section views. If you were given this print and it didn't have a material specified, you could actually tell that it was a copper type alloy from the section view just by looking up this crosshatch pattern. Now, again, it wouldn't tell you exactly what alloy, and there's a big difference between copper and brass or bronze, but it at least gives you an idea that it's not just made out of steel. Just for comparison, I have a copy of the exact same part, and I'm going to open a drawing from this one. And this time, though, I'm going to show it in hidden views. So I'll change my scale just like before. I'll bring this in, and I'll put a second view there. I want to show you another little quirk here. When I come up here, and this time I'm going to say hidden lines visible, the reason I put this drawing view down here rather than say this one here, the top view instead of the bottom, is because this one was drawn on the front plane instead of the top plane. And when you import these views, it will change the direction that these things are facing depending on which plane you have drawn it in the model. Now, I'm not generally known amongst my circle of friends for planning ahead, so usually when I start a sketch, I just click on whatever plane is closest to my mouse cursor and I start drawing. And that has a tendency to maybe bite me in the butt a little bit when I go to actually make my drawings. The main reason I wanted to show you this is because of the hidden lines that are showing the shape of our holes. Now, this works fine for this particular part because it's not very complicated, but I'm sure you can imagine that if you had a more detailed part, especially with small details like retaining ring grooves or O-ring grooves, maybe complicated geometry, lots of radii, that sort of thing would get lost very quickly using hidden lines. That is where section views really shine, because now we're looking at this and all the open spaces are solid lines that are easy to dimension to, easy to distinguish from the background, and easy to distinguish from themselves. If we look at a part like this, you can really see where a section view might be handy, because this has got a lot of features to it, including that tapped hole that would be quite muddy looking in hidden lines. So let's go ahead and make a drawing from this part. I already have a drawing with this same name, so it's asking if I want to open it. In this case, I'm going to say no. And here it's changing the scale on me again. Let me go to 1:1 just so you can see it. I'll bring this over here, and that's the only view I want, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'll go to my section view again, and like anything else, it defaults to the last choice you made, so I want the vertical section view this time, and I'm going to snap to the midsection of this feature right here because it'll cut right through my tapped hole. So now I have my section AA, same deal. I want to actually get out of this for a second because I want to go back to my wireframe. If I click on the section view, it will open up my section view dialog box again. And up here at the very top of it has your flip direction button. Now that's going to flip the direction of these arrows. And I want you to look at this feature right here, which corresponds to this ledge right here, this lip. If I flip the direction, I am no longer looking at it because now this is our saw cut and I would be looking towards the end of the piece. So effectively, this geometry doesn't exist. That's why it's important to be able to flip this direction, because I want to be able to show that geometry and I want to be able to dimension off of it in this view. You could certainly show this as hidden lines, but again, all these details would start getting lost, especially when it comes to the tapped hole. Now let's look at another drawing here, and you will be familiar with this if you watched my previous video. This is a vise body that I'm drawing up. I actually used this in my last video to show the section view capabilities of the model, where you can click this icon here and see a cutaway of our part. And in fact, I clicked on this face right there to see a cutaway of the vise body from there. That is not what we're looking at here, though. We want to look at this little fella right in there. So let's open up a drawing on this. And same deal. We'll get rid of the sheet format. I'm going to use this view right there. That is way too small, but I guess that plays along with it. So I'll put a couple of views right here. There we are. Now what I want to do, I'm still in the drawing tab, I want to come over here to detail view, and when I click that, I'll be able to zoom in over here and draw a circle around a feature. And in this case I can snap to the center point of that radius, and I'll just draw a circle right there. It gives you this warning pretty much every time. I'm just going to click OK. And now I can place this detail anywhere else on the drawing. I'll put it right over there, and before I do anything I'm going to move my detail A note right there. That's just telling you that, hey, this circle down here on your part is your detail view. Now I want to point out here, let me zoom to fit, this is still quite small, and the whole point of this is to make sure that you can actually see these details. So you have a scale icon down towards the bottom of your dialog box. You have to choose Use Custom Scale, and then we can blow this up. Let's try 8:1. 8:1 seems maybe a little big, but 4:1, whatever. And then from there you can drag this fella around. You can actually reposition the note as well. So even though this is scaled up, I can still come in here and choose Smart Dimension, and I can click this radius, and it will tell me everything about it as if it was 1:1. It will give me the correct dimensions here. It doesn't blow those up as well. The same thing goes for your section views, actually. You can come in here, I can click that dialog box, and if I scroll down to the bottom, I can also change the scale of that, and again all of the dimensions would come out correct. You can also move the note around. The section view, I believe, is very similar to other drawings. It is locked. I can't move it left to right, but I can move it up and down. The only way I can move it left to right is by moving the parent drawing. With any of your views, you can come in here and still click your Smart Dimension and start dimensioning them just like you normally would. So for instance, I could get the depth of this counter bore here, and if I go back in, if I click out of Smart Dimension, if I open that dialog box for the section view, and let's say I want to cut this scale in half, you can see it didn't change my dimensions. It just made it pretty hard to see. I want to show you one more sample that shows off where section views and detail views really shine, and that's on this little fellow right here, which if I come up here to this icon and click Zoom to Fit or click my hotkey F, you will see that this is not in fact a little fella. This piece is long and skinny, and it's actually 12 feet long, 144 inches, roughly 4 meters. These are very small features on that large part, and they would just disappear on a regular sized view. So let me go ahead and open up a drawing for this. Again, no sheet format, I don't need it here. And I'm going to choose, it's so small I can't even really tell what view this is. Alright, I'm going to choose that one, and that's the only view I'm going to put, because here it is breaking it down into a 1:32 scale. I believe, yes, I can actually change that scale right here in the dialog box. So I clicked the drawing view. I can change my scale here as well. Let's go to 1 to 16. That's too big. Let's try 1 to 20. Yeah, might try that. So this will let us get our length of the piece very easily, but everything else is going to disappear. So let's go to our drawing tab, and we're going to do a detail view. We can zoom way in. We'll draw a circle around that, and we'll put it somewhere up here. We'll do another detail view over on this end, even though the two are identical. I know that, but the person making the part isn't necessarily going to know that. So I'll put that up here, and then I'm going to do a section view right in the middle, and it doesn't really matter. Let's snap it to the center point of the line. There we go. And we'll put that off to the side. Now we can start cleaning things up. I'm going to move my detail notes off to the side a little bit so they're not just on top of the part. Same thing with our letter C's for the section view. I'll get my dimension out of the way as well. And now I can come over here and click my section view. I'll come down here and click use custom scale, and I'm just gonna see if I can make that 1 to 1. I'll make it 1 to 2. I'll shrink it down a little bit. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the detail views. These I think I will be able to do 1 to 1. I think that'll work. We'll see. Alright, so I've got a little bit more cleaning up to do because it moved my notes around. So let me get that over there. You will notice that it tells you what the scale is on the note. And I'm going to go ahead and move this around a little bit. The only way to move my section view is to move the parent. I'm going to actually try to do 1 to 1 on this. I think it'll fit. Yeah. I will move my note up to the top here though. And that way it's not just sitting in the margin. And I can move my section view around there as well. Let me zoom to fit. And then from here I'd be able to dimension all of these parts. I can go to my annotation tab and just start clicking Smart Dimension. And get all of the dimensions that I need here. And of course I can move all these things around as well because I don't necessarily want to be up in the margins. So once I have that, I have to get out of Smart Dimension in order to move it. So I'll move it right about there. I have a few more to do here. Need to get the dimension right there. And then I would need to do all of the same dimensions over on this side as well. Likewise, here I could go ahead and get my full width of my part right there, as well as the thickness. And you can imagine if this was just a side view of this drawing right here, you would not see any of that. And you wouldn't even really be able to tell the thickness of the part. It would just be a solid line on the paper. And again, let me zoom in a bit here. I can get my dimensions for right here as well. From here you can put in all of your dimensions. If you need to, you can move your views around. Just do little tweaks like that, moving your notes, something to make the print less muddy and more readable. That just about does it for this video. Hopefully you found it helpful, and if you did, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button down below. And if you have any questions about this or any other SolidWorks or machining topics, leave those down in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.